Have you ever experienced a situation like this? Imagine that you should be working right now. Maybe you have an essay you have to write for school. Maybe you're at your job and you have a project to work on, but you're not working. Instead, you're reading some article or you're watching some video or you're looking at some kind of Instagram post. But the thing is, you're not even enjoying what you're reading. It's making you feel worse. It's pushing at all your insecurities. It's making you worried about current events. And yet, you find that you can't put it down. You're spending all this time on something that's making you feel terrible, and yet you can't get yourself to go away from it until you're officially behind on all of your work. What the heck is going on here? Why do we expose ourselves to things that make us feel terrible and use up all of our time doing it? We're going to answer that question in this video. Doom scrolling is a pretty horrible phenomenon. What's so terrible about it is that we're wasting all of this time and we have nothing to show for it. We didn't make ourselves happier, we didn't enjoy it, it didn't help us relax, and now hours have passed us by and we've gotten absolutely nothing. We're now behind on all of our work, we traded away the time that we could have done something useful, and we didn't even enjoy it. It was all for nothing. Why do we do this to ourselves? If you want to grasp this phenomenon, you'll need to understand that negative emotions are extremely addictive for us. So the question is, why? It's because threats require action, while things that are going well don't necessarily need an intervention. If you see a rope and you mistake that rope for a snake, you haven't really lost anything. You'll be extra careful and then you'll be all right. But if you see a snake and you mistake it for a rope, you are dead. Like, that mistake can kill you. So it makes sense for us to be biased towards threats because the threats are what actually require our attention. Now, think about something like social media. Social media is the attention economy. You get paid for ripping people's attention away from others and towards your own content. So if you want to compete in the attention economy, people kind of subconsciously learn, or deliberately, that if you capitalize on negative emotion, it's easier to attract people's eyes towards you. That's why when you watch the news, it seems like everything is bad news. People love bad news, and when you watch videos, that's why so many of them are so negative and make you feel so terrible, because your brain perceives a threat and it feels like it has to direct its attention towards that. This problem has become much worse in the age of sophisticated social media algorithms. Now, modern algorithms can look at what you engage with and what you give watch time to determine what kind of content you gravitate towards. And with our tendency towards negative emotion, effectively, the algorithm starts to learn what all of your insecurities are. If you're extremely insecure about X, you're gonna get recommended things like the end of modern X, why X was over from the start, why you will never achieve X, why X is a waste of time, the end of X, the destruction of X, the desecration of X, right? Because you gave a video like that some watch time, or you clicked on an article like that, and the algorithm feeds you more stuff like that. And since we're biased towards negative stuff, you've basically taught the algorithm how to give you a stew of negativity. But here's a question. Why is it that we find that once we start reading this kind of content that we just can't stop, that we have to read article after article, see video after video? Why can't we just see the threat, understand it, and move on? Why do we get stuck there and find it impossible to break out of this cycle? It's because our brains are looking for closure. Our brains see the threat and they want to be assured that we have gotten rid of the metaphorical snake. We want to kick the snake out of the garage. But the problem is that this kind of content never gives you closure. When it's describing a problem that you're insecure about, it's not going to end it by saying, So here's why it's actually not that bad, and here's what you can do about it, problem solved. It's gonna end it with, so in the end, everything is screwed and there's no hope, and that kind of content doesn't give you the closure you were looking for, so that's why you keep clicking on more and more of that stuff. It's because you're left feeling unsatisfied, and you're hoping that if you just learn enough about it, you're going to resolve this threat. You're gonna feel a sense of safety, a sense of like your problem is no longer going to be as devastating. But that never happens because the content is designed to make you keep clicking on more and more. And if it gave you that kind of satisfaction, you wouldn't be as glued to the screen. You wouldn't be providing endless amounts of watch time. So what do we do about this problem? How can we break out of the doom scrolling addiction? I'm going to give you some action items so that I don't become a doom scrolling content creator myself. I'm going to give you a satisfying conclusion to this problem so that you don't have to keep clicking on more and more videos to resolve the threat. I'm going to give you the satisfying conclusion that Game of Thrones, The Walking Dead, Attack on Titan, Gossip Girl, How I Met Your Mother, and 2.5 Men never could. I'm going to tell you what you can do about this problem. The first thing I want you to do is to remove the source of negativity, because the negative emotion is a large part of what's keeping you stuck in this cycle. So think about this. Right now, when you're doom scrolling, you're not really being productive anyway, right? It's not like you're getting all this work done, like you're not even accomplishing your goals anyway. So why not just do something that you actually enjoy? I know that right now, getting back to work feels like a Herculean effort. You feel like you're just too mentally exhausted to do work, and that's why you're stuck in doom scrolling. So if you're not working right now anyway, maybe just take a little bit of time to do something you actually enjoy. Is there a TV show that doesn't make you feel like crap? Is there like a video game that you enjoy? Is there, some kind of activity that you would actually enjoy so that now you're actually getting a better deal? Maybe if you're not working anyway, you could do something you actually enjoy, and then at least, yes, you are wasting your time, but at least you're getting something positive out of it. And if you do this, you may find that the positive emotion from what you're doing that you actually enjoy might break you out of the cycle, because maybe just taking a break and allowing yourself to do something you enjoy, maybe that will break the doom scrolling addiction by giving you some positive brain chemicals, by helping you relax a little bit, because now you actually got to do something that made you feel good. So sometimes just doing something you actually enjoy will break the doom scrolling cycle, but it won't work in all cases, and it's not really a long-term solution, because even if you're actually enjoying the activity now, the issue is it's still instant gratification, and generally you won't be able to find long-term contentment by just wasting your time, even if you're doing it in an enjoyable way. If you truly want a long-term solution for this, eventually you're going to have to find a way to get back to something that actually makes progress. And for that, I think one of the keys is you have to make your work less intimidating. Probably a big reason why you're doom scrolling is because you're trying to avoid the work that you have to do. The work probably seems too difficult. It seems like it would be too unpleasant to do it, and that's why you're avoiding it. But there might be some ways to make the work seem less intimidating, and that can make it easier for you to go back to it, because ultimately accomplishing something is going to give you the contentment that protects you from the need to doom scroll. The first technique that I want to tell you about to make your work seem less intimidating so that you can go back to it is called temptation bundling. What that means is that you do something unpleasant at the same time as you do something that you enjoy. So the unpleasant thing in this case is your work. So here's an example. Let's say you listen to music while you're working, or let's say that you listen to a podcast while you're working. Maybe you listen to a YouTube video. Maybe if you have like a work from home job, if you have some kind of reading that you have to do, like if you have to research something, maybe you can get an audiobook of that, or you can use a text to speech so that you can listen to it, and then while you're listening to the thing you're researching, maybe you could play a video game. By combining something that you enjoy while you're being productive, you kind of get the best of both worlds. You enjoy the activity more because you're listening to an entertaining video or you're watching a show while you work, but you don't have that feeling of stress that builds up, because if you just did the enjoyable activity, you wouldn't really be getting anything done. So by bundling two activities together, you can enjoy it more and it can be less daunting, but you're still progressing, which can give you long-term contentment. Another thing you can try is giving yourself more breaks. So if something is a really unpleasant task that you have to do, maybe you need more breaks to help you get through it. So let's say that something's extremely boring and you can't use the temptation bundling technique. Maybe you could just work on it for 30 minutes or 30 minutes to an hour and then give yourself half an hour of something that you enjoy. Like if you're working from home, maybe you could work on something for 30 minutes and then play 30 minutes of video games. Maybe you could watch a YouTube video after you do 1 hour of work. Maybe you could talk to a coworker after you do 30 minutes to an hour of work. If you know that you only have to be productive for 30 minutes to an hour and then you're gonna get something enjoyable, it kind of puts a metaphorical carrot in front of you and you have something to motivate you that you'll be able to enjoy guilt-free if you can just get through 30 minutes of work. Now, depending on your work situation, whether you work from home or work in an office, it may be the case that you can't use either of these techniques. What if your boss doesn't allow you to take a break every 30 minutes to an hour? What if you're not allowed to talk to your coworkers? Or what if you're not allowed to use headphones to listen to a video while you work? In that case, there is a third technique that can be really helpful in those kinds of situations. This technique is called body doubling. That's where you find someone else to help keep you accountable. So do it like this. Make friends with a coworker, right? Maybe you have some coworkers who are friends, and sit next to your coworkers who are friends and tell them, hey, I'm trying to stay on task, so I want you to challenge me with this. If you see me pull out my phone or you see me switch to a tab that's not work related, I owe you $100. Tell your coworker that if they catch you doom scrolling, if they catch you going off task, that you will owe them $100. If you know that someone is watching you and preventing you from going off task, there's going to be a penalty for you to start doom scrolling. And with this, you don't need to listen to a video, you don't need to take breaks, you don't need to do anything that maybe you're not allowed to do at work. By having someone kind of watch over you and giving them the incentive that if they catch you, they earn actual money, you will be less likely to doom scroll. You'll know that there is an incentive not to, and there will be a penalty if you pull out your phone. By doing this, you can block yourself from doom scrolling before it even starts. There's one more factor I need to cover that might be the most important of them all. And that factor is whether you live a life that feels meaningful to you. Very likely, the reason why you find it hard to control your desires for instant gratification is because you feel like there isn't enough meaning in your life. You probably don't enjoy your job very much. Maybe you don't have a lot outside your job that you enjoy. And because there's a lack of meaning in your life, you're kind of trying to fill a hole in yourself. You can't really feel satisfaction, and because of that, it's very difficult for you to focus on anything, and you're always looking for something to give you that satisfaction. Now here's the thing, I'm not telling you that you should quit your job. The reality is, a lot of the work that needs to be done in the world is not super engaging or interesting. Not everyone is going to be a YouTuber. We're not all going to be actors. We're not all going to have these high impact charity projects. Most of the work that needs to be done in the world is pretty uninteresting. It's not all that inspiring, but we need to do that work. Somehow, it seems like AI is getting to do all of the fun things like painting, making videos, composing music, while we, the humans, are still stuck with all the boring work. How did this happen? Most of us are not going to end up in a career that's super fulfilling and enjoyable. So I'm not telling you that you need to quit your job if you don't feel like you're living the dream. The reality is we all need to do tasks that are not very enjoyable. So the fact that you don't really enjoy your job is fine. Like, that's pretty normal. But if you want to conquer the desire for instant gratification, you'll probably have to find that meaning outside of your job. For a lot of people, they might derive meaning from taking care of their children or their romantic relationships. And if you don't have those things, that's fine. I mean, it's difficult to change that overnight, or maybe you don't even want those things. Thankfully, there are other sources of meaning that you can find, and I'm going to go over that a little bit here. What I recommend you do is pick up some kind of hobby or activity where you produce some kind of finished product every single day. You could do something where you work towards a bigger goal for weeks and weeks, but I don't recommend that as much because that might turn into something intimidating. If you're working on a huge project in your spare time, the payoff might seem so far in the future that it's kind of intimidating to start today, and that makes you procrastinate that. So I recommend you get into some kind of activity where you have some kind of a payoff every single day for that beautiful dopamine hit. Here are some examples. Maybe you enjoy doing stand-up comedy and you can write a couple of new jokes every day, and maybe you go to a daily open mic for stand-up comedy. Maybe you could write a quick new song every day on guitar or piano or something and then perform it at an open mic each day. Maybe you could write an article on your website and you could post a new article each day about something that interests you. Maybe you could make a YouTube video every day, or maybe you could go to an improv jam and improvise a scene each day with your improv friends. I really feel that producing something meaningful to you every day in a hobby that you find interesting can give you that sense of reward that you're looking for, especially if you can show it to your friends, if you can get feedback on it. It can kind of give you that feeling like you're getting a payoff every single day, and that can really give you the sense of meaning that you might be looking for. One problem that you might have when you try to do this is you might be so exhausted from living a life that you don't really enjoy that you might find you're too exhausted to add anything else. You might find that if you added anything else to your life, you would start getting behind on your work, and that's a very difficult situation. It's hard to break out of that. One thing you could do is you could book maybe like a 1-week vacation if you're allowed to do that. And then on that vacation, you could start doing the meaningful activity. Maybe you start doing your daily stand-up comedy at open mics. Maybe you start writing your blog articles every single day on your vacation. And then that might give you the meaning you're looking for, so that by the time you get back to work, you're feeling a lot better and your total productivity has increased to the point where you can do both of those things. If you're a student, maybe you could wait until something like the summer break or something like reading week or spring break or the winter holidays. And then on those holidays, you can start doing these kinds of activities, and that could fix your mental health a lot. And then you might be feeling better at the end of it, to the point where now you have enough work capacity to do both the meaningful activity and your normal work, because you've kind of lifted yourself out of the burden of a boring life. One final tip I will say to breaking the doom scrolling addiction is, if there's ever a YouTube channel or something that gives you the kind of content where when you see it, you feel like your curiosity is piqued and you have to click on it, but then when you click on it, you feel like crap and you wish you had never seen it. If you ever see a channel like that, just click on the 3 dots and then click don't recommend channel or don't recommend content like this. Only have stuff in your feed that actually makes you feel good or makes you feel like you got some kind of value. If you see something you're like, holy shit, I just wish I had never even seen this, it was a complete waste of my time and I just feel terrible, just tell YouTube not to recommend that stuff to you. It really makes a difference. Anyway, that's pretty much everything I wanted to say. I hope you enjoyed the video. Please don't start doom scrolling my channel. Don't even think about it. Don't click on my channel and look at all the videos. Don't do that. I don't want you doing that. If you want a scientifically backed way that you can prevent yourself from doom scrolling, you can get an awesome resolution to your thoughts by leaving a like, leaving a comment, and subscribing. That will tell your brain that the threat is neutralized and you won't feel the need to keep going because you've put a nice bow on this whole ordeal. Anyway, hope you enjoyed everything. Thank you so much for watching, and have a great day.